Everybody, welcome back to Sip and Talk.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be in your time zone. It is great to be back.
I have to say, the vibe today is a little intense.
Yeah.
Have you looked at the inbox this morning? I feel like our server's about to catch fire.
Oh, I've seen it. My notifications have been going off like crazy. It seems we've struck a nerve, or, a specific event has struck a nerve with our Sip and Talkers, specifically from Taiwan.
I think I counted at least 50 emails before I even finished my first coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not just saying hello, they are like demanding we break down this one very specific, very heated online debate. The one between the Taiwanese counselor, Miao Poya, and a gentleman from Tianjin, China, known as Mr. Wu.
It is fascinating. I watched the whole 40-minute thing, and honestly, it felt like the ultimate collision of logic and, obsession. It was like watching a sci-fi movie where two people are speaking the exact same language, but they seem to exist in completely different physical dimensions.
That is the perfect way to put it. It's a case study in talking past each other. On one side, you have Miao Poya, who's the legal pragmatist.
Yeah, all about modern democracy, self-determination.
And on the other, you have Mr. Wu, the traditional legitimist, who's, insisting on historical IOUs and these grand nationalist narratives.
And that's why it's blowing up, I think. It just tore away that polite diplomatic facade you usually see. This felt raw. It really showed the fundamental disconnect in how both sides even view reality.
So today, we're not just going to recap what happened. We're going to unpack the logic and maybe the lack of logic underneath it all.
We have to. We need to get into why that Civil War argument is still being used and his defense of the Great Firewall.
Oh, that was something else. Okay, so grab your beverage of choice, everyone. Let's get into it. Let's start with the biggest thing, right? The whole Civil War argument.
Yeah, this is the foundation for his entire worldview. He argues that because the Chinese Civil War never officially ended with a signed armistice, the two sides are technically still at war.
And he used that to justify, basically to justify military threats. He said something like, because you attacked us in 1950, we still have the right to attack you today.
Even while claiming to want peace. It was. It's a stunning bit of logic. In the U.S., that's what we'd call stalker logic, like a toxic ex.
Totally. But, okay, to understand where he's coming from, he brought up something specific from history. The closure policy of the 1950s.
Right. So for anyone who isn't a Cold War historian, basically, after the ROC government went to Taiwan in 1949, they didn't just sit still. For a few years, their navy enforced a blockade on parts of the Chinese coast.
Seizing ships, supplies.
Exactly. And Mr. Wu points to this and says, see, you were aggressive. The war was hot then. And since we never signed a peace treaty, the war is just on pause.
So in his mind, it's not starting a new war. It's just finishing an old one.
That's the idea. He's relying on a legal theory called state succession. The idea is that the PRC inherited all the rights and territory of the old China. So for him, taking Taiwan isn't an invasion. It's like an internal police action.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate for a second. If no peace treaty was signed, does he have a point? Does a war just end?
Well, that's the thing. International law also relies very heavily on effective control and self-determination. And that's exactly where Miao Poya comes in with her counter-argument.
Right. She didn't really deny the history. She just denied that it was relevant today.
Correct. She brought up a very specific year, 1991.
When Taiwan unilaterally ended what was it called? The Mobilization for Suppression of Communist Rebellion.
It's a mouthful, but the legal implication is huge. It was a massive peace gesture. Taiwan was legally saying, we are done. We are no longer trying to retake the mainland by force. We're our own jurisdiction now.
So they basically shifted from being a rival government for all of China to just a neighbor minding their own business.
Precisely. And she explained how through 7 constitutional amendments, the government is now based on the will of the 23.5 million people who live there now.
I loved her analogy. She said, we moved out of that old house. We changed the locks.
Exactly. And that's why it felt like they were in parallel universes. Mr. Wu is standing on the porch of the old Civil War house demanding rent from 1950.
And she's in the new house saying, sorry, we don't live there anymore. We have a new lease.
It really is that toxic ex dynamic, like you said. The guy who won't sign the divorce papers for 30 years and then shows up claiming he still owns half your stuff.
But she had this great phrase for it, I thought. She said, democracy allows for error correction.
Yes. That was brilliant. She's saying a political system isn't a suicide pact. Just because a government claims something in 1949 doesn't bind the current generation forever. The will of the living outweighs the claims of the dead.
Which brings us to the next massive piece of this puzzle. To keep that narrative alive, you have to control the information. We have to talk about the Great Firewall.
Oh, this part was wild because Mr. Wu didn't deny it exists. He actively defended it. And his argument was, it was actually kind of sophisticated in a way.
He called it a double-edged sword, right? He framed it almost like a trade tariff.
Exactly, a digital tariff. His logic is that by blocking Google and Facebook, it gave domestic apps like TikTok and Baidu room to grow without being crushed by U.S. tech giants.
So a kind of infant industry protection.
That's the economic defense, but then he pivoted to the ideological defense, saying it protects people from Western brainwashing.
But this is where it got weird. He admitted he uses a VPN himself to jump the wall, to talk to her.
Right. He said it's fine as long as you don't engage in sedition.
Which is such a terrifying legal standard. It means it's illegal, but we only enforce the law when we don't like what you say.
It's the definition of selective enforcement. It just destroys any sense of legal stability. And that's what Miao Poya jumped on, the paternalism of it. She basically asked, if your system is so superior, why are you so afraid of competition? A wall implies you lack confidence in your own product.
It's the whole marketplace of ideas concept. If your governance model is actually good, it should be able to withstand some criticism.
Right. She said an open society handles noise and disagreement. That's what civilization is. By saying you have to protect people, you're implying they're too fragile or too simple to think for themselves.
Like they're children. Don't look at that website, sweetie. It'll confuse you.
And that leads directly to the consequences of that filter. You end up with completely different versions of history. We have to talk about Tiananmen Square.
Yeah, that was maybe the most heated part. He claimed the protesters in 1989 were thugs who were attacking soldiers.
And here we have to be really clear. We have historical records, BBC, on-the-ground reporting. Was there chaos? Yes. But the asymmetry of force tanks versus unarmed civilians is the core reality.
And Miao's rebuttal was so sharp. She didn't just yell, "You're wrong." She set a logical trap.
She did. She asked, if the soldiers were heroes putting down a rebellion of thugs, then why does your government completely censor the date?
That's the kill shot, right?
Yeah.
If it was the glorious victory, you'd have a national holiday. You wouldn't scrub June 4th from the entire internet every year.
Precisely. The silence itself is an admission. But, of course, Mr. Wu has an answer for that, too.
Which is that the whole world, except for China and Russia, is brainwashed by the U.S. We're all in the matrix.
It's a powerful defense mechanism, you know? If everyone disagrees with you, you can either wonder if you're wrong or you can just decide everyone else is crazy.
But the flaw in that is so obvious. In the West, we criticize our own governments constantly. Turn on the news for 5 minutes.
Right. If the U.S. government is brainwashing us, they're doing a terrible job. We see massive protests against our own government's policies all the time.
In a closed system, you hear one voice. In an open one, you hear a million voices yelling at each other. That noise is how you know it's not brainwashing.
It's like that old joke. A guy calls his wife, frantic, and says, "Honey, be careful on the highway. The news says there's a car driving the wrong way."
And she says, "A car? Honey, there are hundreds of them."
If everyone else seems to be going the wrong way, maybe you should check your own GPS.
Okay, let's pivot to the final theme, which is identity. He argued that unification is inevitable, that it's in the blood.
Yeah, the classic conflation of ethnicity and sovereignty. He says, you speak Mandarin, you celebrate Lunar New Year, therefore you are politically part of China.
And Miao's point was that while the cultural overlap is real, Taiwan's political and economic operating system is totally different. It's westernized.
And she made that really powerful point about safety. The only country threatening their actual lives is the PRC. And that reality defines their identity more than anything else.
We were talking about this earlier, the British Empire analogy. It's perfect.
Right. We speak English. Our legal system is based on British common law. But imagine if the UK Prime Minister announced tomorrow that the US must return to British rule because of that.
We'd think he was insane. Make America Great Britain again?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because our political system, our way of life, defines us now. That's Miao's argument. A shared heritage doesn't equal shared sovereignty.
So we've covered the Civil War logic, the firewall, the narrative wars, the identity clash. It is a lot to take in.
It is. But, watching this whole thing, I kept coming back to one image. When he was defending the wall, he sounded like a parent who's too protective.
Yeah, that kind of paternalism. We know what's best for you.
But here's the problem with that. It's like keeping a child in a sterile, temperature-controlled greenhouse their entire life because you're afraid they'll catch a cold.
What happens when they finally step outside?
They have zero immune system. The first germ they encounter could be deadly.
That is such a good point. We could call it information immunology.
I love that. Information immunology. True intelligence isn't avoiding lies. It's seeing them, analyzing them, and developing the antibodies to fight them. That's what critical thinking is.
So when a government filters everything, it's people never get to build that muscle. They stay dependent.
They do. Whereas in an open society, we get exposed to mind viruses all the time, fake news, propaganda, bias. But that exposure is the vaccine. It's messy, but it's how you grow.
So, to all our sip-and-talkers out there, don't be afraid of the information. That noise is the sound of your mental immune system getting stronger.
Well said. Independent thinking is the only real antidote. Don't be a greenhouse child. Be a navigator in the storm.
And before we sign off, I just want to be clear. Today was about objectively exploring the logic and facts in this debate. It's not an attack on anyone, but a breakdown of the narrative wars that shape our world.
Absolutely. That's what we do. If you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe to Sip and Talk. We have a lot more coming.
A quick shout out to our old friend Mickey. He finally launched his YouTube channel. It's called Mickey to Life.
Oh, yeah. His travel vlogs are amazing. It's such a breath of fresh air after all this heavy political talk.
It really is. A great way to disconnect. So go check out Mickey to Life on YouTube.
Wishing everyone a strong constitution in every sense of the word in this crazy world of information. We'll see you next time.
See ya. Bye-bye.